Hey guys, what's up? We are at Nelson Ledges State Park, a old glacial area by my house where glaciers used to come through, carved out in all these rocks, a bunch of paths and stuff, which is now some awesome hiking trails. Decided to come out today because it's like 60 degrees Fahrenheit here, which is unusual for us. It's winter, and thought I have this new camera, the Canon EOS M200 mirrorless camera. It's a little starter camera. Runs about $499 US. And to be honest, I'm really enjoying it. Wow, this is really cool. Look at all this ice hanging off this. Anyways, $499 US. I'm really impressed with it so far. I'm actually preferring it over my larger DSLR camera, my Canon EOS 80D. This camera has eye detect, which I'm loving, a lot of other features. So I thought I'd talk to you guys about this camera today, do a little bit testing it out, try to do some B-roll and stuff with it, see what I think of the quality. Also just kind of give you guys a life update. A lot of people have been asking me about where the family vlogs have been, where the videos about me and my wife's flipping business have been. So I thought I could address some of that today too, while we went for a little hike. First things first, I'm gonna get some B-roll all this ice. Roll the intro. All right guys, so first things first, let me go ahead and tell you guys kind of the life update. Also walking through a very dark tunnel, see how this thing performs in low light. But a quick life update. So to answer the question of where have the flipping vlogs been, as well as the family vlogs of us traveling and stuff, the answer is they haven't gone anywhere. To be completely honest, we will be doing plenty more of those as well. The biggest issue is that, well, it's been winter here in Ohio. And to be honest, when it's cold and nasty out, we kind of stop traveling. It kind of becomes a season of focusing on work and stuff for us. And that's exactly what we've been doing. So with that said, we will be getting back into the flipping as well as family vlogs as the weather picks up. The other reason is during winter, we kind of focus on going through all of our inventory and stuff that we've gathered throughout garage sale season and work on getting that sold, reorganize kind of all of our storage spaces and stuff, go through all of our listings on eBay and the various platforms that we sell on, and just kind of adjust our prices, things like that. Try to get rid of inventory. Again, while we're kind of out of that garage sale season and stuff, as that's typically where we do most of our buy-in is with garage sales. So again, just to kind of that, you know, that's where we've been during winter. I've been focusing a lot on my gaming live streams. If you're interested in gaming or you watch any gamers play, I myself live stream on Twitch. You can get to that here, the link on the screen or down in the description below. So I've been focusing on that a lot. And again, we've just been focusing on getting all of our ducks in order for the next garage sale season, getting ready to come up here in a couple months. Got this waterfall coming up behind me. I don't know if you see it. It's flowing pretty good. Get some pictures of that and stuff and some B-roll of that, try it out. But anyway, so that's kind of the life update. That's where we're at. They haven't gone anywhere. It's just been winter. So we haven't been out as much traveling or doing anything like that. However, that will pick back up as the weather picks back up. All right, with that said, let's go over here and photograph the waterfall and stuff, and then I'll tell you guys a little bit more about this Canon EOS M200 mirrorless camera that I'm enjoying. Alright guys, getting some shots of the waterfall and stuff, testing out the long exposure with the camera. Like I said, I wanted to talk to you guys today about the Canon EOS M200. I've been shooting with Canon cameras for a little while now, mostly starter type cameras. I've also shot with some starter entry-level Nikon cameras. And I gotta say, I have not had a camera impress me at such as a price point as this one in quite some time. This thing, you know, to be honest, I'm liking it better than my $1,200, you know, EOS 80D setup. I think I paid about $1,200 for that, and I bought it used and got it for that price. And it's been a great little camera, but there are some features in this mirrorless setup with it being a newer setup that is just really nice compared to, you know, something like the EOS 80D. And I really think if you're starting out as a photographer or content creator, that you should really take a look at the Canon EOS M200 mirrorless camera, because it has a lot of great features packed in such a little device and for such a great price point. Things like 4K at 24 frames a second, also does 1080p, 60 frames per second, and 720p at 120 frames per second. My EOS 80D only does up to 1080p and only does it up to 60 frames per second, and it does not even offer 720p at 120 frames per second. Also, this little guy has eye autofocus, so not just will it focus on a face, but it'll actually put a focus marker on the eyeball as well to make sure that you get the eye in focus, which is always much more important than the face, especially if you are shooting in a very low aperture mode. So if you're using a prime lens or a fixed lens and you're shooting at like a, you know, 1.4 or 1.8, sometimes you can get a face in focus, but a little bit of the features like the eyes, because they're a little further back, the focusing system might hit the nose, so your eyes will be out of focus a little bit. With this setup, you know you're always gonna nail that focus right on the eyeball, which is fantastic. So, a lot of great features. Really nice day out, I'm enjoying it. I'm glad I decided to get out of the house and come here and check it out. I'm getting some great pictures of the waterfall here, so I'm gonna have to put some on the screen to show you guys. All right, let's get some more shots. Alright guys, we finished up at that waterfall back there. So there's another waterfall at the other end of this park, so I'm walking that way. So the other great thing about this camera that I really like is that the sensor in it is an APS-C sensor. So we actually replaced, we had a Canon G7X Mark II that we replaced with this camera, the Canon EOS M200. And while that one had some benefits, for example, the image stabilization in it was really good. This one though, I mean, you know, I guess I'm gonna see once I put this video together, but it seems pretty good as well. But the one nice feature that the G7X Mark II had that this one does not is it had a built-in ND filter. So as you can see, even right now with the sun coming through the trees and stuff, I'm getting blown out here because I did not bring an ND filter with me. That was the one nice feature of the G7X Mark II, especially with the wife who's still learning photography. I've been doing it now for a couple years. She's been learning in the recent, you know, last year or two. It's a lot easier for her not to have to worry about spinning an ND filter as well as adjusting ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. So that was always a big help for her. However, you know, she's been doing it for a while now, so I think it'll be good for her to learn how to use an ND filter. We just got to get the equipment to do that. But overall, again, with it being an APS-C sensor, that's compared to the G7X Mark II, which had a 1-inch sensor. So it's a much larger sensor size, which is going to allow us to have better low light performance out of our secondary camera versus when we had the EOS 80D with the G7X Mark II. So I really like that about it as well. The only other issue besides the built-in ND, which is not really an issue because I'm used to using an ND filter with my EOS 80D, is that this camera does tend to, if you record for long periods of time at 4K or 1080p 60 frames per second, it will overheat eventually, and you'll have to either drop down to a lower resolution, lower frame rate, or wait to start recording again. This really only becomes a problem not with B-roll or pictures or anything, but mostly when I'm doing this right here, this talking head style, and it's a little warmer outside, then it starts to heat up the camera after, you know, a good 5 to 10 minutes of straight rolling. 5's a little less, 10 to 15 minutes of straight rolling. It will do that. But you know, you wait 15 minutes, it cools back down. I made another video about this camera where I was saying it's a great device. Let me change hands here. Where it was a great device for people that were looking to use it for live streaming to replace their webcam as well. You can find the link to that video in the description below, where I also talk about some of the features of this camera, like the fact that it has a clean HDMI output, which something like even my Canon EOS 80D does not have. Again, $1,500 camera setup. But in something like that, where you're not actually recording to a memory card, you won't face any overheating issues. So if you had seen that video and you were thinking about getting this for live streaming as your webcam, even though I'm mentioning it overheating in this video, don't let that bother you for that video. If you've seen that video, it makes sense to you what I'm saying. All right, let's get to this other waterfall, get some more B-roll along the way. Again, it just turned out to be a gorgeous day. I'm really enjoying it. And like I said, I'm really loving this camera. It might kind of be my camera that I take with me pretty much everywhere, even in replace of my Canon EOS 80D most of the time. We'll see. But so far, great entry-level camera, Canon. Great entry-level camera. All right, let's get to this other waterfall. All right guys, we finished up at the second waterfall. So heading back towards the car now. Gonna get home, export all the footage onto the computer, and then we'll take a look at the B-roll and stuff, and then I'll give you guys my opinion on what I think of the quality overall. Like I said, so far I've been really impressed with the camera. So this video, again, you know, it's not like a big technical review or anything, but I've been using Canon cameras for a while, as well as a couple others, Nikons and stuff. So again, just kind of wanted to take it out, give it a real good test, see what I thought of it since I just picked it up. All right, get back to the house, load the footage in, and then I'll let you guys know. Alright guys, we are back at my desk looking at the video files we got from Nelson Ledges.
Put them all inside of Premiere. Actually built the whole first half of the vlog that you just watched up until this point. So I'm well aware of what everything looks like now that it's in the timeline in Adobe Premiere. So a couple last thoughts on what I think overall of the quality and stuff of the clips and some of the features of the Canon EOS M200. First, I want to say that overall, the IBIS, the in-body image stabilizer, is actually pretty good. It does sometimes get a little bit of a wobble effect to it, which I'm not a big fan of, but to be honest, we would get that out of the G7X Mark II as well. But overall, the IBIS does really, really well. The only other problem with it is that combined with the warp stabilizer sometimes makes for some weird effects. So if the IBIS isn't quite right out of the camera, unfortunately that means that the warp stabilizer is probably not going to fix it either. Again, this was something that we experienced with the G7X Mark II as well. So again, it's not really a downside to me in upgrading. And again, with this being an entry-level camera, you know, a $500 mirrorless digital camera, I don't expect everything to be absolutely perfect or to be up to standard as something like my EOS 80D or something like the new mirrorless cameras like the Canon EOS R. So overall, I'm still pretty impressed with how the IBIS performs in the camera. Secondly, I will say that I was correct in the vlog in that the low light performance out of the Canon EOS M200 is much, much better than our G7X Mark II that we were using. As I said, anytime you increase that sensor size, so the G7X was a 1" versus this M200, which is an APS-C sensor. So anytime you increase the actual physical size of that sensor, you're going to get better low light performance. So that was expected, and overall, I definitely see that when looking at clips that were shot in low light while at Nelson Legends. Overall, the quality is fantastic. The 4K looks great. The 1080p looks great, even when you slow it down. And even the 720p at 120 frames per second. To be honest, if you go back through this, you probably can't tell me what clips were shot in 1080p and what clips were shot in 720p and what clips were shot in 4K. If you think you can, go ahead and try to guess below, but I'd almost guarantee that you're not going to be able to tell going back and looking at this, especially, you know, on a platform like YouTube. The only real downside, like I said, to this camera, and again, I did notice it as I was editing and stuff, was number one, it does suck that compared to the G7X Mark II and something in that form factor, that kind of all-in-one camera, that it does not have an auto ND filter built in. Honestly, I think that would be great to see in any digital camera that's put out in 2020 or going forward. Even in high-end cameras like the EOS R and cameras like that, it would be awesome just to have an automatic ND filter built into all cameras. Just my opinion. All right, so the only other thing was, again, the overheat issue. I would not use this camera for something like long-form interviews or anything like that. However, as I've said on the channel, for live streaming, to upgrade your webcam to your first type of digital camera, for most types of content creation like vlogs or creating short videos for social media sites and anything like that, this camera is perfect for that. Again, as long as you're not doing long style content like interviews and stuff, I really don't see the overheating being much of an issue for you. I will say, in defense of the camera, personally, I shoot everything at the highest resolution and the highest frame rate that I can. Which means with this camera, I'm either shooting in 4K 24 frames per second, I can't talk, or 1080p 60 frames per second. I'm not shooting at 1080p 30 frames per second, 720, 60, or 30 frames per second. I'm either shooting at the 4K resolution, or if I'm wanting slow motion, I'm shooting at the 1080p 60 frames per second. So I'm always shooting at the two highest resolutions and frame rates that this camera offers. So again, if you're not doing that, you may be able to do long form interviews, something like a 1080p 30 frames per second, without having any overheating issues with this camera. Again, overall, I'm super impressed with the camera. I'm loving not just the video I'm getting out of it, but the images as well. They're rivaling my EOS 80D. I love the fact that I can buy a little adapter that allows me to use my existing EF and EF-S lenses that I already use for my EOS 80D. So I can now use all my existing lens with this Canon M200. So again, overall, for the price range, I really think you can't get a better camera right now. Again, I'd love to see what Sony introduces, because the A5100, that's kind of the comparable camera to this one, is like 5 or 6 years old. So I'd love to see what other cameras they come out with in this price range to compete. But right now, for 500 bucks, for around 500 bucks, I do not believe there's a better digital entry-level camera out there for content creators and live streamers. All right, guys, until next time, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you guys like this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button below. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button for more videos like this, and ring that bell for notifications. Until next time, peace out, everybody.